Good evening, everybody. I'm Lloyd, Heinrich, the CEO here at the Wine Collective. Welcome to my very first Facebook live stream. Tonight, I am super excited to be talking all things Margaret River with the king of Cabernet, Julian Langworthy. Good evening, Jules. Have I got you?
How's it going, everybody? Nice to be here all the way from sunny Margaret River. Thanks for the invite, Lloyd.
Very good. Now, I'd just like to say welcome to everyone who's joined us on the stream tonight. Thanks very much for joining. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the live stream, and we've got a very special offer for you. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of great stuff about the Margaret River and Cabernet, and feel free to ask questions along the way in the comments section, or just leave us some comments on where you're at and what you're drinking and the like. So please play along as we go. So Jules, Deepwoods, Cabernet, you've become synonymous with the northern part of the Margaret River. Tell us a little bit about how you got the nickname King of the North.
Well, many and varied, you've got to keep yourself a little bit sane in the vintage period, but lots of hard work. One of the things we do is grow stupid beards. So we're still in the midst of throes of harvest at present. So this beard's going to come off on Friday with our vintage party. It looks a little bit like I'm a homeless person mixed with, well, redneck really, isn't it? But the King of Cabernet the King of the North came about a few years ago when we had a bit of an online or Instagram war with our friends in the South, Xanadu. They make very green, minty styling Cabernets, whereas we make luscious, dark fruited, generous ones. So hence King of the North, and a little bit of a Game of Thrones play as well. So yeah, I'm very happy with that title actually. So if you want to address me as my liege, Lloyd, that's fine.
I'll try and think of that as we go through. So vintage just about wrapped up. How did you go this year?
2021 was tricky, but we've got some beautiful wines. I guess the catch cry out of this vintage, from a Cabernet point of view, because we're talking kings of Cabernet, is like extreme elegance. They're quite moderate styled alcohols, but with beautiful, light, fine tannin structures. Aromatic whites are really nice, really good natural acidity, and some lovely Chardonnay. Probably the highlight for me in this very early stage is the rosés. There's some beautiful rosé. Margaret River is a phenomenal region for rosé, and we've got some really great Tempranillo and Shiraz-based rosés this year.
Awesome. I always love the rosés. Last time we were in this room that I'm standing in today, we talked about your Cabernet and what I particularly like about it, and you did mention it again tonight, and that's elegance. Can you tell me a little bit about your winemaking philosophy and how you get to that elegant version of Margaret River Cabernet?
I think we're pretty lucky in Margaret River. Like, it really is winemaking nirvana. Elegance is, you can never, Cabernet is all about ripe tannin structures, beautiful ripe tannin structures. And Margaret River has a very slow accumulation of sugar, and hence the resultant alcohols in the wine. So in Margaret River, we get to have beautifully ripe tannin structures without an overburden or a preponderance, if you like, of alcohol. So we get to have lovely medium-bodied wines that are silky, full-bodied, silky, fully ripe tannins, if you like, without them being porty or jammy or overly warm from alcohol sweetness, Lloyd, I think would be Margaret River's superpower.
I was thinking about this this afternoon as I was making a cup of tea, because I think you gave me an analogy about making a cup of tea. Can you kind of give our viewers tonight a bit of an insight into how you think about Cabernet in the same way as making a cup of tea?
Yeah, I can indeed. You've got very good memory. So you sort of, Cabernet, for winemaker, Cabernet is the most wonderful grape variety in the world because it takes brilliant sites to make brilliant Cabernets. And then as a winemaker, you're charged with not stuffing it up, really. So if you think about making red wine, it is a lot like making a cup of tea. So you bring this wine in, and the crushed up grapes go into the solution of grape juice as if you'd make a cup of tea. And if you think about it, you can leave a tea bag in a cup for a really long time to make the tea strong, or you can jiggle it around a lot to make the tea strong. And depending on when you take the tea bag out, it depends on how strong the tea is. So it's the same with pressing grapes from a must. So the more we do pump overs and plunging and things like that in making Cabernet, the more structural the wines can become. Or the longer we leave the skins in the solution with all the grape juice, which is called the must, the stronger the wines can become. But it's a little bit it's when the esoteric sort of scientific sort of bits go in. Depending on when you jiggle your tea bag, you get different results in your cup of tea, if you like. So generally we try and jiggle the tea bag in a very elegant fashion. We generally try and do the work in the wine in the early stages. Exactly, very, very delicately. We try and do the work on the Cabernets in the very early stages of ferment when there's not too much alcohol involved. In the later stages of ferment, when the alcohol starts becoming part of the must and a part of the solution, we do less work. And then part of the art is deciding when to press that must. And you end up with wine and spent grape skins. And so they're two of the most important decisions to make in making Cabernet.
And how's your philosophy sort of changed over the last, how long have you been at Deepwoods now? 10 years?
Yeah, 11 years this year.
11 years, wow.
I think it's been aligning philosophies to vineyards rather than a overarching philosophy about how to make good Cabernet. Like the longer you're at a winery and the longer you have, you learn about the vineyard and the site and things like that, the more sympathetic you become to individual sites rather than an overall ethos. Deepwoods operates on a very strong quality-based ethos of like making the world's best Cabernets. But you need to be sympathetic in the way you pick grapes based on the site, based on the season. So I think that's what I've learned most of the last 11 years, being at one site and having the great privilege to work with such great fruit, is one size never fits all. You just need to really work out the season and know your vineyard sites well.
Very good. Thanks, Jules. Tonight we're going to look at 6 wines. I have 5 of them here in front of me. Hopefully you have the 6th, the magical, the one that I wasn't able to get in time. Where would you like to start? Do you want to start with the 6th wine? Go it alone first, or do you want to start with the Deepwoods Reserve?
Let's start with the 6th wine. I'm assuming this is the one you don't have?
That's the one.
Okay, so Red Brook Chardonnays from Evans and Tate are a bit of a
view to why we've got Evans and Tate and Deepwoods on the table tonight.
Okay, sure. So Deepwoods Estate is part of what's known as the Fogarty family wines. We have an amazing suite of wineries within our company. There's Millbrook in the Perth Hills, there's Smithbrook in Pemberton, Deepwoods in Margaret River, Evans and Tate in Margaret River. We've got Dalwhinnie in the Pyrenees in Victoria. We've got Winemakers Tasmania. Yeah, and there's also Lakes Folly very close to your home, Lloyd. It's a family-owned winery with a huge winery group with a huge focus on quality. So both Deepwoods and Evans and Tate, two of Margaret River's powerhouse and most wonderful brands, are both owned by the same umbrella, made at different wineries. My role as chief winemaker for Fogarty family wines means I have like a lovely inherent role in all the wines we make, but my major focus is Deepwoods, where I grew up as a winemaker, if you like.
Right. All right, let's jump in.
All right, so 17, beautiful vintage. It's cool, and it's actually probably in 11 years my favourite Chardonnay vintage we've ever had in Margaret River. This is entirely from a vineyard called Wildberry in central Williabra, fermented in largely 1-year-old oak, and it's just becoming, it's a bit of a treat to get this in this pack. It's a Chardonnay that's just entering the absolute peak of its powers from a pristine Margaret River vintage and a really mature, wonderful Chardonnay program. It's pale, it's printy, it's super cool.
17, definitely the peak Margaret River vintages. It was the year that I was there, so of course it must have been great. Wines come out of 17. Yeah, that was the time that I came and visited you at Deepwoods. So, yeah.
the thing about these wines, Lloyd, they're laser fine and they have absolutely crystalline purity to their acidity. Lovely. They develop really well in bottle, and they're absolute Venus bargains when you can find them. Quite different in style to the Deepwoods Reserve Chardonnay that we'll try next.
All right, so how far apart are the vineyards between the Edmonton Tape wine and the Deepwoods Reserve that we're about to taste?
Ironically, not very. Roughly, probably a couple of kilometres only.
Yeah, right.
So they're different. Chardonnay is such a chameleon, but winemakers love Chardonnay because it really stokes our egos. What you do in the winery makes really different expressions of Chardonnay, and the style they make at Evans and Tate, and Matt Burns, senior winemaker there, is a proponent for, is very different the way we make them at Deepwoods. So the vineyard sourcing is different because every vineyard is different. A couple of kilometres makes a massive difference at times. But they're actually really quite close together, the primary vineyards of both of these wines.
Very nice. So let's jump on to the Deepwoods Reserve. One of my favourite wines, a wine that I buy pretty much every year. I've got a 6-pack of this in my cellar, the 18, which has been, it's 19, been recent release, which has just been delivered. Thanks, Mum and Dad, for watching, for looking out for that for me. Can't drink it all before I get a chance.
The Deepwoods is unashamedly very modern styled Chardonnay. Like we use a very laissez-faire attitude and like quite a Burgundian approach, if you like. It's flinty and funky. It has a thing called reduced sulfide, normally in spades, which is a sort of a salty sea breeze character in this instance.
Wow.
And then it's got lovely stone fruits underlying that. It's one of my favourite wines to make each year and really super rewarding. We sell this wine out, Lloyd, generally in about 1 to 2 months after release every year in November. So it's a bit exciting to have some re-released.
I'm always drinking this around Christmas time because that release comes up just before Christmas, and I jump on a few bottles and open this with the fam on a hot Christmas day. It's beautiful.
These wines we release, so this wine was released on November 1. I would absolutely say that it'll be a even more complex and epic drinking experience next Christmas. They just grow so much in bottle.
Yeah, and typically we do try to, as I said, bought a 6-pack, so try to space them out over a couple of years between, and I've got some all the way back to, maybe 2012 or 2013 might be the ones that I've got going back to.
Well done. Well, 2013 won the James Halliday Chardonnay Challenge, so top out of 900 Australian Chardies that year. It's quite a collectible wine, Lloyd, so you're doing well, but you are the wine collective, so we should expect such things, shouldn't we?
Absolutely, I'll do my best at collecting. All right, that's amazing, Jules. What I love about that is the balance, and you source fruit off 3 different vineyards for this. Tell us a little bit about what happens between those 3 different vineyards.
Okay, so 2 of the vineyards are very close together in central Williabruck. One's called Williabruck Farm, the other one's called the Forest Vineyard. The 3rd vineyard's a bit further south in Margaret River in an area called Carradale. So Williabruck Farm generally brings the funk. That's the flint and the sea breeze, just a vineyard characteristic. These wines are the most, I get a bit annoyed about discussion about natural winemaking and things like that. So these wines are handpicked, squashed in a press, raw juice comes out, we run them off to barrels, and that's it. We add a little bit of sulfur dioxide late in the aging process, and there's no adds, no yeast, no nothing. So it doesn't get any more natural with modern contemporary Chardonnay from Margaret River or Australia in general, if you like. So Williabruck Farm brings the funk. Forest gives it a lovely fruit core of nectarine, and the further south vineyard, the Bridgelands vineyard, gives it a really lovely mineral-laden acidity that drives the palate really long, and a lovely citrusy aftertaste. So it's a wine that's as stronger as a sum of its parts.
Awesome, love it. All right, let's jump into some of that famed Cabernet from the heartland of Cabernet in Australia, the Margaret River. Jumping onto the Red Brook Reserve next.
Let's do the 2013. Is that the one?
Yep, right. 2013 Evans and Tate.
Beautiful. Okay, 2000 Red Brook is the original home of Evans and Tate, which is across the road from Mosswood and Woodlands in central Margaret River there. This is a selection of the very best, if you like. I'm doing a very bad job of showing labels.
I'm trying to do my bit.
You're doing a better job than me, mate. The very best of that vineyard and the vintage that is. I've just realised that you've got the correct wine, Lloyd, and I've got the incorrect wine. So let's go with your tasting notes. You've got the Evans and Tate, which I believe is the right one. That's actually from the Sandalford vineyard next door to Red Brook, which is also one of our company vineyards. So think about black olive tapenade. Think about roasted, really ripe roasted red peppers, then underlying salted plums and deliciousness. 2013, quite a warm vintage, and a really successful vintage for Evans and Tate with some really great generosity, but also fine grain tannin profile.
What I love about that, Jules, is it's just starting to come into its own. 2013, it's looking really pretty. It's got that grip that you come to expect from Marg. So that's a beautiful wine. And we'll be talking a little bit about a pack later that this comes in 2013. That's probably where you're going to go first, I would imagine, out of this collection of wines in terms of its ready to go straight away. Absolutely.
Look, a gentle decant about an hour before serving, and that's going to be such a rewarding dining experience. Like it's a bloody expensive wine as a standalone wine itself. These are the kind of wines that you like. You have a couple of sips over with the first bite of your slow cooked lamb, and it just disappears, and you wish you had 3 more bottles. They're pretty cool, and it's really getting into a nice drinking window at the moment, I reckon, Lloyd.
Fantastic. All right, now we're going to move to the Red Brook Reserve 2016. You've got that one right?
I do.
Perfect. Let's bottle match. Bingo. We have a match.
As per all Evans and Tate wines, there's an offensive amount of bling on the front label. No less than 12 gold medals, just because. They're not easy to win gold medals either.
It is looking pretty blinged up, that wine.
Yeah. So 2016, it's an interesting pair of vintages. The 2016 vintage is quite similar to 13. It was another warmer one in Margaret River. The 15 and 17 vintage either side were really quite cool. 16 and 13 have got quite a lot in common. This has a bit more brashness and bright red fruits showing at the moment than the 13 does, I guess, from my point of view.
Yeah, I get sort of that nice dried sort of herbs, get some cedar character and that beautiful elegance that we come to expect from these wines. So that's looking really nice too. And it's really quite it's a medium to light bodied sort of
I think I definitely can I describe it as distinctly medium bodied, like that dried herb. I like roasted sage as a tasting note for these wines. Like it's not a green herbaceousness, there's a lovely warmness to it. So silky, the tannin profile. This has probably been in bottle for probably 3 years now, and it's really starting to show some lovely chamfering of the tannins and it's got no hard edges at all to this wine. I think it's really beguiling and pretty and really quite fun.
And food match for this one, where would you go there?
Cabernet is so good with lamb. Like it's lamb and Cabernet is just one of my absolute favorite things. You've got that beautiful acidity, natural acidity we get in Margaret River. You've got those lovely tannins, and then you've got the fatty, beautiful richness of spring lamb or autumnal lamb, as it might be at the moment.
Yes,
That's probably my absolute favourite. My guilty pleasure during vintage, if I'm home by myself, is a bottle of Cabernet and about 16 lamb chops.
Yeah, nice. Well, I've got my wife's watching tonight, on the weekend, we're going to drink the leftovers of these lovely Cabernets. Probably not all of them at once, but and we've got a lamb loin roast, which is going to go really nicely with that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right, so Deepwoods 2018 Reserve Cab Sauv. So this is hot off the press, Jules.
Can we do this one first?
Oh yeah, of course. So do you want to give the intro then?
Well, probably I'd like to do this one next, just because we're going to look at 216s together, and you and I will, at least, Lloyd. And it's a little bit of an unusual wine for Deepwoods. This is a cool wine for you guys to have in this pack. Generally we only make it in weird and wonderfully great years, like 2016 was, and there's a maximum of about 118 dozen each year. So it's pretty cool to have it out and about. Obviously gets a fair bit of bottle age before it comes out. And it's probably a nice wine to try next to the Red Brook. It's from a single site planted in 71 in Williabra. And it's a bit of a fun one. It's a bit of a step to the left for normal Deepwood style.
I have tried this wine once before. Jed Boss brought a bottle over when he first put this to bottle, and it had been open for 3 or 4 days, I think. And when he gave me a glass, and I was like, "Wow, that's incredible!" So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's evolved.
They're these grand selection wines, like they're very expensive bottles, but they're absolute statement wines. From a Deepwoods point of view, the Reserve Cab is our flagship and our hero. The best one we make each year is the Reserve Cab. It's epic. These grand selection wines are just something out of the box. Like they don't have to be repeatable. They're just something that's so expressive and so wonderful in that year that we needed to bring it out and share it with people. The bitter cocoa powder tannin profile of this wine is so compelling for me, and it's starting to get some development in bottle, but only a touch. If you notice, the colour of this wine is still purple rimmed, Lloyd. It's got another decade to go in this wine without even a heartbeat of an issue. It's only a very small amount of new oak for a wine like this. It's about 20% new oak, which is, for our super premium Cabernets, is not a huge amount. And that's because the tannin profiles are so beautiful and so pretty and beguiling, and they didn't need any more reinforcement. It was just how that season in particular worked out. So this is a very big house stamp style, if you like, and undeniable aging and power and just wonderfulness. Whereas this is about, reflecting a great site and a great vintage. And the pinnacle of just, interest and intrigue, and they're just such small releases. If people are into them, it's a great journey of discovery, if you like.
I couldn't recommend it more highly. It is such a unique smelling wine. I don't think I've ever tried anything quite like that before. So a really, really different tasting experience. Oh, beautiful stuff. Okay. We talked about cocoa powder. I really relate to that. Okay, we're going to move on to the Deepwoods Reserve now, Jules.
Yep, absolutely. So to not stand on ceremony, I've been widely reported to say that I think this is the best wine I've ever made. And hopefully that means best wine Deepwoods has ever made. 2018 as a vintage was effortless. Everything went right. It wasn't a matter of, when should we pick having to pick anything. It was like, when should we pick up the optimal epicness? You know what I mean? All of our vineyards.
I'm going to steal that. Pick the optimal epicness.
Exactly.
If you're watching, that's got to go into the copy for the sale of this. Optimal epicness. Love.
So this is a baby at the moment, and I implore you, if you're going to drink it next week, double decant it and then drink it. Otherwise, you've got lots of wonderful wines in this 6-pack that are much more ready to drink than this one. It'll probably be aged beautifully over a very long period. It probably just needs another 18 months just to get some of the exuberance and puppy fat of youth. But it's got salted plums, it's got dark chocolate, it's got cassis, it's got that beautiful Sous-Bois forest floor character. Everything is ripe, everything is dense and focused, and it's got huge drive through the middle palate. It really is a pretty critically, epically awesome wine. So we won the Jimmy Watson with the 2014 Reserve Cab.
Yep.
Our wine show year was a bit interrupted with COVID last year, but I was fairly sure this one was going to win it again, but we didn't get an opportunity to find out. Absolutely. Super cool wine, and it's going to really be one for the ages and one for the cellar if you have enough patience and capability. I've got a couple of 6-packs stashed away, it should be pretty good.
So in terms of the 14, you won the Jimmy with the 14. How's that looking now? I actually have a bottle. I've got a few, some at home in the cellar and some where I live in a wine fridge. How long do you reckon? Is it
I actually had the pleasure of trying a bottle about 2-3 weeks ago. It's drinking beautifully at the moment. It really actually is. It's in a lovely position where it's got all the exuberance of all the plush purple fruits of youth, but some complexity and some development. It's in a spectacular place at the moment, and I would suggest, Lloyd, it's probably more about how you like to drink wine stylistically, whether you like them like in the more gentle and lightly perfumed, or you like the more exuberance but with some tampering of an enthusiasm of youth. So I think it's in a beautiful place. I'm going to drink a few of the ones I've got over the next year or so, and then leave the next ones for another 3 or 4, 5, 6 years. I actually think this 2018 will need more time than the 14. But that's the vintage that was. They're quite similar vintages, but 18's just got another level of intensity and depth to the wine, if you like.
Great. So everyone who's watching, now's the time. If you've got any questions for Jules or I, please type them in. I'll start with one here from Ryan. Julian, can you tell us a little bit about the Willie Abrupt vineyard and how the terroir is expressed in this amazing wine?
So I think I spoke a little bit previously about, what I've learned over the last 11 years here is about, framing and capturing the best a vineyard has to offer. I think, Lloyd, you touched on the perfume of that wine. What we were really trying to do with that was to frame that amazing perfume and not damp it down or tamper it with too much oak or too much extraction. And the silky, lacy tannin structure is what that old vine Cabernet is all about. So it was about being really respectful and trying not to overladen it with oak, overladen it with extraction or a teabag jiggling, if you like, and letting the true beauty of that site sort of shine, if you like.
Yeah, look, it does have something really special going on there that I'm super impressed with.
Good.
So just heading back a little bit, backtracking a little bit, we've talked a lot about Cabernet today. You have done a lot of work in bringing up rosé in our country, and I'm super, super happy with the work that you've done because it's enabled me to get more into rosé. So, where did your love of rosé come from, and where are you thinking rosé's headed now?
Well, truth be told, I wasn't very much of a rosé convert at all until I came to Deepwoods. Deepwoods is a lovely sense of irreverence and fun as a workplace, and we came up with the Sultans of Salmon and Think and Drink Pink, Pink is a New Black, all these sort of things. Rosé, for me, needs to be irreverent and about joy and friends and family and boats. If you've got one, a super yacht and a white suit. And they can be beautifully, seriously drinkable wines, but they can't be, I've got my beautiful Cabernets when I need to think of like rich mahogany and leather-bound books. But rosé for me is about fun and lifestyle and dining and eating with friends, and that's what we've tried to embody. 8-9 years ago, we were making about 500 cases of rosé a year. We make over 20,000 cases of rosé now, which is hard to imagine. And the Australian market was just dying for it. We had this weird sense that rosé was for, you know, fluffy shirt wearing wankers that got about on yachts, but it's just perfect for the Australian lifestyle. You know, it's got generosity, it's not got too much acidity, it's perfect for alfresco dining, it's perfect for our lifestyle, and it's lovely in a range of occasions. And so we were just really lucky that we were pushing rosé when Australia realised that what, you know, France already knew, that rosé was great for so many occasions. And it's so nice to see people embracing rosé all across Australia and all sorts of different styles.
And so versatile, right? With food, afternoon by the pool, as you said, on your super yacht, if you're lucky enough to be in that particular scenario. But, you know, have it with cheese, have it with, you know, you can just do so much with it. It's just great. So what about your favourite rosé outside of your own little patch there? You have to go further afield than Western Australia. Where are you personally drinking?
So, well, look, I've been to Provence a number of times, and in my sort of like, we have a couple of rosés at Deepwoods, Harmony Rosé and the Estate Rosé, and the Estate Rosé was our attempt to make Australia's best rosé, and you know, sometimes I think we've succeeded pretty well in that. But my absolute favourite international rosé is probably Domaine Tempierre in Bandol, made from Mourvedre. You're talking about wines with texture and joy and crunchy tannin, and actually rosés that age. So I had the privilege to visit Tempierre a couple of times, and they're just amazing. The inspiring wines. I haven't told the vintage crew yet, so I'm sure none of them are watching it, but I got a magnum of Tempierre for 2019 for vintage party on Friday. So yeah, looking forward to trying that too.
Great. Jules, thanks very much for your time today. We've kind of chewed up 30 minutes pretty quickly. It's pretty easy talking about wine with you. Thanks again for joining. Tonight we've talked about a whole range of different Margaret River wines. We've focused on Cabernet, but obviously there's a lot of love to be found in rosé. I'd encourage everyone who's listening and watching tonight to go and get onto some rosés and have a bit of a look. These wines are now available online on our site. We have a special deal on these 6 wines in a Fogarty Wine Group pack, which is special to the biggest week in wine, which is the promotion we're running this week. For everyone who's made it this far, we're 35 minutes in, so probably a little longer than we'd intended, but as a big thank you, we're going to give you a little thank you note, and that is a $20 off any purchase that you make between now and midnight tonight. And the code for that, everyone got a pen, code for that is Deepwoods 20. So Deepwoods 20. 20 off any purchase. Doesn't need to be Deepwoods, but I strongly suggest you should buy some Deepwoods. They're amazing wines. $20 off any order until midnight tonight. The other thing is, as part of the biggest week in wine that we're running this week, today we are running a competition to win a Liebherr wine fridge, one of the best wine fridges in the world. We have packed that wine fridge full of $5,000 worth of Australia's best wine. You know, we have got some absolute big guns in there. The details of that competition are available on the website, so log in and have a bit of a look at that. Make any purchase over $50 to go into the draw to win that wine fridge. That draw is on Wednesday. Thank you very much again, Jules, for joining me. Thanks all the viewers for hanging around. We've got another one of these live streams happening tomorrow night with Andrew Graham, one of our resident experts, and he's going to take you through the basics of wine tasting. So, Jules, thanks again.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, everyone.